Mark Rodriguez here, and you're watching the Review Sanctum, where everything and anything may be reviewed. And today we're talking about Five Nights at Freddy's, The Fourth Closet, the last book in the trilogy book series made by Scott Cawthon, the creator of the games, and also Kira Breed Risley, who I suppose is more in charge of the actual, writing parts of it. So yeah, there's a good book here. A lot of stuff happens to the book. I'm going to try my best to keep everything in the proper order, so correct me if I'm wrong here and there. There's a lot of details in here. The book also has, of course, this big twist that most of you guys are probably aware of already, thanks to like game theory and other such FNAF videos. Either way, if you guys have not read the book yet or anything, be warned, super duper heavy spoilers. We'll be discussing this near the end of the review, and some rants with a couple of things that kind of didn't make sense and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go there, and you guys probably have some faint ideas what we're talking about. But bottom line is super duper heavy spoilers. Now this book takes place a couple of days or so after the second one, so of course it assumes you've read the second one. Compared to the second one, it takes place like a year later. So I'm going to kind of go over everything real quick because I think it makes more sense if you know the full context. This is, after all, the third book of a trilogy, and a lot of stuff happens here, and a lot of stuff is mentioned here that kind of makes more sense if you read the books. Like, it all goes, full circle here. So the first book is Silver Eyes. Basically dealt with Charlie and her friends. They all live in the town of Hurricane, and back in the day when Freddy's was actually, in business and up and running and whatever, one of their friends, Sammy, was one of the mysterious missing kids. The kids were found murdered and stuff like that, and, Freddy's got shut down due to the murders, and the kids, they all parted ways and stuff like that. So now they're all, coming to visit each other. They got the little reunion, they're seeing each other again. They have not seen each other since the tragic events of Freddy's and stuff like that. And in Charlie's case, she's the daughter of Henry. Henry's the guy that actually invented animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and all them. He actually works for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and stuff like that. And apparently, the news that his animatronics could possibly be involved in the murders of these kids, or people even blaming him directly for these kids, having gone missing or whatever, was so much that he ended his life, and that's how Charlie ended up living with her Aunt Jen and growing up with her and all that stuff. So anyways, as the kids get together and talk and whatever, the subject of Freddy's does come up, and they do wonder whatever happened to it, so they all go check it out. Freddy's by now is abandoned. They built some kind of mall around it, but the mall's never finished, so even the mall's abandoned, and it's I guess Freddy's was behind a specific wall or something within the mall, so you'd have to kind of sneak in there to see it or whatever. It's not in plain sight. And yeah, Freddy and those guys, they're still on stage like nothing happened. And the kids go there a couple of times, and during the times they go there, Carlton gets captured by William Afton, who was actually posing as a security guard named Dave, I guess a mall security guard, even though the mall's abandoned, but he was just there. So he kidnapped Carlton, and of course the kids have to go back to rescue him. And during this, there's also memories that Charlie has that there was another restaurant before Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that was called Fredbear Family Diner, and then she has memories that when she was a kid, she actually had a twin brother, and they were hiding someplace in a closet or something, and there was a guy that was dressed up as a yellow version of Bonnie, like a yellow Bonnie suit, and he took her twin brother and stuff like that. So now it makes even more sense that the grief and stuff that her father went through was, all the stuff I mentioned, but it was also because the loss of a son. So holy shit, that just adds more to it. And he actually built an animatronic, like a very simplistic one with a knife to kill him. That's a hell of a way to end your life there. But yeah, so all those memories, all that trauma, all that shit kind of comes back to her. That's not really helping her out. So like I said, the kids go back to rescue Carlton. This is, of course, when Freddy and them actually come to life now and start moving around and everything. And Afton himself dresses up as Spring Bonnie because that way it's the animatronics, I guess, don't recognize him as a human, and they'll only go after the kids. And near the end, the big climax is that Charlotte, or Charlie, her name is Charlotte, but she prefers to be called Charlie. She gets pissed, because, how dare you, you took my brother from me and all that shit. So she shoves Afton down, and from the games, how super sensitive the spring lock suits are and everything. So, Afton gets spring locked. He gets caught in the spring locks of the spring Bonnie suit. where you would all think that, you know, he's dead, and Freddy and those, I guess, leave the kids alone, they all escape, it's a big nightmare, and it's like, you know, you're glad it's all over and shit like that, and there's still a lot of, unanswered questions and mysteries and stuff like that. And of course it's revealed that Afton did work with Henry. They both actually worked together back in the day for Freddy's and stuff like that. So anyways, the second book now, it's like a year later, and Charlie's in college. She's adjusting to college life. She has weird experiments and stuff. She got an experiment with these talking robot heads that I guess bounce words off each other, and if you put on a thing, like now they'll listen to you, because like without the headset on, you're invisible to them. But you put it on, now they talk to you, and now you learn off your words, and you know, just weird stuff like that. So she's curious, like why she keeps thinking about like robots and machinery and inventing things, like it's a part of her, you know. But she also feels that her missing twin brother is calling out for her some way, somehow, and it keeps bothering her. So anyway, she goes to visit John, and they hang out at you know, back in Hurricane, Utah, because apparently she only lives like an hour or so away. So it's not that far from Hurricane. And Clayton's dad, who's a police officer, Officer Clay, calls her over and calls her for some things that may be familiar to her. So they find dead bodies, well, a dead body to start with, a dead body that has the kind of markings only someone that would have been stuck in a spring-locked suit would have. Because apparently in the first book, Afton survived the previous attempt, so he had the scars. She like showed them off to the kids, the scars he had, so she knows what they look like and stuff like that. So it's like victims with spring-locked scars all over them. And later on, other victims now look like Charlie, so she gets the idea that whoever's after these people are not after these people, they're after her directly. So it turns out to be a new bunch of animatronics that got special discs that make them look like what you think they'll look like, I guess. They're very, like, simplistic looking robots, but if you love Freddy's and you kind of recognize the guy as Freddy, like, he'll look like, I guess, a more adorable Freddy, and that'll like lure you in and he'll get you. But for these people that have already suffered the nightmares from the first book, they're going to look like horrible, nightmarish versions of Freddy and his buddies. So Officer Clay actually had the original Freddy animatronics in his basement, and I guess they haven't moved or anything. But once they start like playing the discs or whatever, the robots come to life and they start heading out, so the kids follow them. Because Charlie at this point has been kidnapped. She's been, you know, looking around, so she finally got captured by Twisted Freddy. And she escapes Twisted Freddy. There's a whole bunch of stuff with the underground facility. And in the end, there's a big battle between the original FNAF animatronics and the new Twisted One animatronics. And it turns out that the entire underground base thing, whatever, happens to be right under Henry's house. Like right under Charlotte's childhood house and everything. And at this point, William still survived, but he's stuck in the suit, and the suit is rotten, so of course now he's Springtrap. He is actually calling himself Springtrap and stuff like that. So the big kicker is that near the end of the story, after all this stuff, thinking about her brother and everything, Charlie goes right up to him and, you know, choking him, whatever, and starts asking him, like, why did you take him? Why did you take him from me? And stuff like that. And the big thing I didn't want to, like, spoil in the review of the book, because, you know, I didn't want to spoil it too much when I reviewed the Twisted ones. Afton said the cryptic words of, oh, but I didn't take him, I took you. And while she's still trying to process what the hell does that mean, Twisted Freddy jumps up in the rubble, grabs her, pulls her inside, like, you know, his suit, and just spring locks the fuck out of her. And John tries very desperately to, like, you know, open it up and stuff like that and save her. And you hear crunching of bones and blood, and, you know, all the violence and everything. And you think that that's the end of the overall building, and after that, then it's dead, whatever. But the weird thing is, a week or so later, when the gang is just chilling at their usual, I guess, restaurant spot, surprisingly, Charlie shows up. And Charlie shows up like not a scratch on her. She was just like, you know, crunched to death inside a spring-locked suit, but not a scratch on her. And the big kicker, the big thing at the end of the book, is that she goes there and everyone talks to her, whatever. What's his name? John pulls Carlton over, and Carlton's like, well, what's up? That's not Charlie. And that's like the big thing. Holy shit. Yes, if that's not Charlie, then who is she, okay? So anyways, that brings us to this book here. Okay, so now we're going to go into the book here, and again, like I said, a lot of stuff happened. I'm going to try my best to remember things in the key order of events. You guys can, of course, correct me if I'm wrong. So anyways, the book starts out a couple of weeks later, and John is just depressed in his little apartment, and like all the thoughts of his mind, the nightmares of how Charlie died, and like how it makes zero sense. And that's a stupid thing, too. That's like plot hole number one. Like, how does it make sense to everybody else? Because everybody else was fucking there. Everybody else was a witness to what happened at the end of the second book, and yet John is the only one with enough like logic and sense that like we just saw an animatronic grab Charlie and crunch her to death, and you know like there's detail of bone crunching and stuff like that, and blood and whatever, and John was trying to get her out, and everyone's saying, you know, like John, it's too late, you know, she's gone, and then like she just comes back next week or so without even a scratch on her, or without even an explanation of what happened. She doesn't remember what happened or whatever, and John is the only one that can't get that out of his head, so he's like depressed, he's whatever. He's been like fucking up at work a lot, and I guess the book goes into that. I guess one time he was late. Well, that was it. That was the last fuck up in a line of different fuck ups. So now he's fired, you know. So Jessica runs into him, and she explains how Charlie's hurt because, you know, everyone's been hanging out with her and stuff, but you're like the only one that's ignoring her and whatever, and you're hurting her, man. You're hurting her like she feels like she's still gone, or like she lost a friend or whatever, and John just can't like go see her because he just feels so creeped out that like, well, who is this? Because this is not Charlie. But yeah, he decides to go. So he goes to the house, and he has second thoughts. He's about to leave, but Charlie shows up, and they all talk. And yeah, you know, it's kind of a weird conversation. It's kind of awkward or whatever. But they do agree to go on a date later on and stuff. But he still can't shake it, you know. So later on, he also runs into Officer Clay, and they talk a little bit about how weird it is and whatever, and it's kind of like, come on, man, you're still with that, you know, whatever. But Officer Clay did mention that he's working on another case. There are more missing children once again, so he's kind of working to solve this case and everything. And yeah, so throughout this scenery in the background, like it's kind of in the book, it's kind of like subtle, but on TV commercials and crap, there is a brand new restaurant opening up called Circus Baby's Pizza World, and it has like a clown motive and stuff like that. So anyways, John is gonna head home for the night, and as he heads home, he actually walks right past Baby, but just recognizes her as, you know, another clown, another, you know, girl in a costume. There's just a lot of clowns like around the restaurant to promote it because it's opening up soon or whatever. So this girl looked like a clown, but she had a weird line behind her head, but he just thought it was like whatever. So anyways, as he goes, he's about to go home. He has like a weird feeling, so he goes back to see what's going on with Officer Clay, and Officer Clay is half dead. He's on the ground. His head's, you know, he got bludgeoned or something, and he's bleeding out, and he has to call the hospital quick to get him and stuff. And you know, of course, it's shown that that yeah, Baby did sneak into his house somehow and got him and everything. And yeah, what can I say? There's a lot of little things here and there which I don't know how to explain the order because they kind of happen in between the books and in between the chapters. But Afton is still alive, and he's experimenting. It looks like sometime after the second book, I guess. Somehow, don't know how or whatever, but somehow they captured all the Freddy animatronics, the original Freddy animatronics, and melted them together into this big mess. And he's been experimenting with it. He injects like, he like gets, like he's melting them down to molten metal or something, because technically speaking the animatronics are still haunted, and he like takes the molten metal out and injects it into Funtime Freddy, so I guess that makes Funtime Freddy also like possessed now. So anyways, the kids take Carlton's dad to the hospital, and Carlton's dad says something like there must be some kind of range, and they don't exactly know what that means. And yeah, so they go check it out, and let me see here. This is stuff where I'm starting to figure out like the order of things, but I think what happened is when they go back to Officer Clay's house to check stuff out, they've been noticing a lot of photos and things, and all these photos are photos of Charlie since her, grand return. So she did go on a date with John, so there's photos of them on their date and stuff, and then there's photos of whenever she went shopping out with like Jessica and Marla or whatever, and there's photos. So at first it's like, oh my god, why is he creeping on Charlie? Why is he taking pictures of her or whatever? But then they notice that in every picture, it just so happens that Charlie looks a little blurry. And you know how it is, cameras, maybe she was moving, but then you notice that even in pictures where Charlie is just like staying perfectly still, why is she still blurry? And no one else looks blurry. Everyone else looks normal, but she's like the only one that looks blurry. And it's kind of weird, it's kind of suspicious, so they gotta, investigate that. And later on, let me see here, there's like so many things that happen. I'm trying to get the proper order, but I believe John and probably Jessica. John and Jessica go off to this place because they have those little talking robot heads, and they start mentioning some kind of place, like a word that actually makes sense, and it wasn't the name of some I don't know what it was called, like Sky Place or Moon Place or whatever. So they found the coordinates or whatever. They want to check it out, and it turns out to be where Aunt Jen used to live. So they go to Aunt Jen and they talk to her about like has she seen that they've seen Charlie lately and whatever. And also the weirdest thing is that Charlie kept asking about Aunt Jen too. So that was kind of weird. So anyways, they talk to Aunt Jen. And Aunt Jen just talks a bit, a little bit, I don't know, a little mysterious stuff here and there. And I guess she kindly asks them to leave for now or something. And so they leave, but they kind of hide to the back of the house or something. And while they're in the back of the house, Jen has a visitor. And they kind of notice that this visitor is actually Charlie, but Charlie's acting weird and whatever. And while this is going on and they're hiding in another room, John finds this big box, and when he opens the box, Charlie, the real Charlie, is in the box. And she's in a fetal position in this box. And it's like, what the fuck is she doing in there, So while this is happening, you hear Jen screaming, so it's obvious that this other fake Charlie, because of course now it's a question of this is Charlie right here and who's that, Charlie is choking and killing Aunt Jen. So these kids are hiding in the other room, and they got Charlie, and she's, kind of half asleep, half awake, and, you have to be careful not to make noise or whatever the hell. And this girl is getting killed, this lady's getting killed in the other room, and there's that big suspense that what if she hears you and shit. And so the kids hide somewhere very carefully to keep, Charlie quiet. They hear the footsteps. Whoever's in there checking for people apparently finds no one and just dashes out the door. And that whole scene was very heart-pacing, So they go home now with the real Charlie, who is still mostly sleeping and very weak and whatever, and try to figure out what's going on. And they also try to find, like, they also want, what's his name? They want Carlton to go back to Charlie's apartment in case there's anything cool or anything important they could find, any of her old stuff, because surprisingly what happened was in the second book, Charlie was actually Jennifer's roommate, and she had all her weird experiments there. But the thing is that when Charlie, with this fake Charlie came back, she never made any attempts to, like, get the equipment back, get her stuff back. She, showed no interest in it. So they want Carlton to get over there and check it out and, see what he can find. So, what can I say? He goes back to the house and he finds the equipment, and they were talking about the discs. Back when they were talking about the photos, because I forgot that was all in one shot, or it was like two separate scenes, but when they were doing the thing with the photos of Charlie looking blurry, I think they actually blew up one of the photos, and when it was blown up, it was more obvious that Charlie was actually like Circus Baby, but Circus Baby in the book has two forms. The first form is like in the game, she looks like a giant ass, robot child, because, Circus Baby looks like a kid, but in the game she's like fucking 7 foot tall. She's a big robot. She's not a child-sized robot. She's, So she has a second form where she looks more, I guess, like a more anatomically correct human type version, but she still looks like baby. So imagine a robotic human woman, but she still has like the lines and the dots and all the weird shit that baby has, you know, like that. So this adult human version of baby is kind of cloaked by this fake imagery that makes her look like Charlie to everybody else, and they discovered that, and they had the idea of about those discs from the second book. You know, they had the idea that they could somehow like undo the effect or whatever and stuff like that. So Carlton goes to the house and he finds the talking heads, and yeah, when he puts on the headset, they start talking to him. So he took off the little, it's kind of like an earpiece. He reverses the wires on the earpiece, and all of a sudden the heads now only talk to themselves. So now the heads like completely ignore him. So long as he has those on, he's invisible to these machines. So just then, Charlie comes in, and Charlie, you know, starts getting on him, acting suspicious, acting like, what are you looking for, and whatever. And it pretty much looks like she's gonna kill him, you know, right there. So as she has him kind of like pinned up against the wall, and like just a desperate attempt or whatever, Carlton real quickly puts the headpiece on, and while he has it on, all of a sudden Baby can't see him anymore. So Baby / Charlie's like, the fuck, what? And she, you know, he's like right in front of her, but she can't see him. So he carefully like sneaks past her while she's looking around the house, like the fuck did he go, you know, checking the closets or whatever. And once he's completely gone, he's able to get the equipment back. So when they take the equipment back to everyone else and stuff, they discover more things. They discover, for example, Charlie's old doll Ella from the first book. But the thing that's kind of weird is that they got like the discs now, and they try to do some experiments, you know. So with the disc on, like for example, like Ella looks like a real human child, and if you turn off the disc, she looks back to a regular doll. And the weird thing is that this effect is different because compared to the disc in the second book, where everyone sees, I guess, their own interpretation, with this kind of disc, everyone sees the same thing. So they're curious as to why was it set up that way? Why is it set up that Ella can look like a real kid with the disc on and whatever? So it's all creepy and all whatever. But Carlton did explain that the whole thing with the wire switching did work, though. It did work in that sense because when he did that trick, the fake Charlie couldn't see him, you know. So anyways, Charlie shows up, the fake Charlie shows up, and they're hiding the real Charlie, who is still sleepy and weak and whatever. She's at these moments where she kind of wakes up a bit but still feels too weak and goes back to sleep, and she also doesn't remember what happened or whatever. So they hide her and stuff, and Charlie starts going around the house looking for shit. And it's like, well damn, she's not even trying to hide it. She's like going through the house, looking through, which is John's apartment, by the way, looking through cupboards, looking through places that obviously kind of give you the idea where they could be hiding Charlie. So it's kind of suspicious, kind of like, what's going on? Why is she like that? But, you know, they're like, I guess they can't tell her nothing. But honestly, I would have been saying, yo, you're guessing my house, what you doing? So, I think Jessica or someone invites her like to walk her outside, but she's fine or something. So Jessica gets the idea that while Charlie's doing all that, Jessica's gonna hide in the back like trunk of her car and see what's up. So Jessica leaves and everything, and baby Charlie leaves and everything, but Jessica is now hiding in the back seat of the back trunk of the car. So when they do arrive at Circus Baby's Pizza World and everything, and Jessica's looking around and she's like suspicious and stuff, but eventually she gets caught by Charlie, who at this point she doesn't care about like whatever. She walks closer to her and she actually transforms into full-on like Baby with the head plates, you know, opening up and all that shit all in front of her, and socks her out. So this part's very weird, doesn't really make too much sense, but when Jessica wakes up, she's down there with the robot Baby, and we see that Afton somehow survived, but Afton is basically, he's as human as he possibly can be without the spring lock suit. They peeled and pried off like as much of the spring trap outfit that they possibly could without killing him, because you know how the spring locks work. So he's basically mangled, he's a bloody fucking mess, and he's in a wheelchair now, and he still has whatever bits of spring trap that he can't remove without killing him. stuck on him and shit like that. And he wants to do experiments. He wants to see if he can live forever. He doesn't understand quite like how these animatronics got like possessed, but he wants to know their secrets and stuff. So this part makes like no sense at all. But Jessica is forced to help baby, I guess, get a kidney or something out from Afton and pop it into the molten metal and shit. That's the whole, you know, the original animatronics all melded together, and they put that in there. And I don't understand how that works, how that in any way helps make Afton immortal. They're gonna put him in there piece by piece. Makes no fucking sense, but okay. But during this shit, because of course baby is also kind of like a nurse for her, so she's like, you know, watching over him and cleaning his wounds or whatever, Jessica makes a break for it elsewhere, trying to like find out how to get out of there, because there's like another underground facility type maze in the Circus Baby Pizza world. So by now, the other kids, Carlton and Marla, go out because they want to rescue Jessica, while John is still watching over baby. And like in the big climax of the book, you get two things going on at the same time, because on one side Jessica wants to escape, and Jessica actually finds the other missing captured kids, but doing so, Mangle is in the story too, so now they're trying to escape Mangle and everything. And also, while Carlton and Marla are trying to rescue Jessica, they get trapped into a hall of mirrors, and Funtime Freddy is there. He's like, I can hear you, and all that creepy stuff. So they use the earpieces to be invisible to Funtime Freddy, but of course you still gotta be careful to not make noise, because noise will still bring his attention anyway, and stuff like that. So there's a big scene in the book about trying to get out of that hall of mirrors with Funtime Freddy, and of course the moment where the thing falls out the ear, and it's a big scene, you know, and Carlton fumbles and puts it on in the last possible minute when Freddy's almost gonna get him and shit like that, you know. So you gotta have those moments. And they all meet up with Jessica, and now they all have to carefully guide the kids outside, you know, so they don't get caught and stuff. They gotta deal with Mangle. There's a scene where I think I forgot if it was either Jessica or Marta, but one of them had to climb through like, you know, those little, you know, like those kind of kid puzzle things, like those giant things that's a mixture between slides and chutes and tubes and ladders and all that kind of shit. So she has to crawl through the tube to get out of the side or something, and it's falling apart because it's not made for her weight, you know, it's for kids. And also, you know, Freddy's stuff is never in good condition, while also avoiding Mangle, because Mangle is easy to lose sight of, since you know how she is, he, she, whatever, and stuff like that. So you get all that shit going on, and at the same time, Baby is now determined to go out and find Charlie. So like she goes back to the apartment. I'm trying to remember here. No, they must have gone back. No, they went back to Jen's house. Yeah, they went back to Jen's house. John and Charlie went back to Jen's house, I believe, and Baby was there. And Baby is now, you know, she's not subtle anymore, because during the story there was another date somewhere in there where John did admit, like, I know what you are, and I can reveal it in front of everyone and stuff like that. So she did already know that the secret's already out. She's done being nice. She's done pretending she's Charlie and stuff. So she knocks John out, and she tries to strangle Charlie. And during this, now we have memories, because she, like, I guess, pulls back the head of Charlie or something, and somehow that makes her like see memories and stuff. So now you see more memories of her childhood with Henry, and there's all these little clues here and there, but it kind of makes sense for us. So basically speaking, yeah, like the whole revelation, and it's interesting though, because it wasn't really, I don't know, I guess it was, but it wasn't spelled out. You have to connect the dots. But basically speaking, what happened is that Charlie herself was the one that got killed, and I'm not really too clear on if Sammy was real or not, but well, not Sammy, but whatever her twin brother was named, but she was the one that was killed, and Henry went through an insane, like, depression and stuff, and he's holding onto the Ella doll and crying and all that stuff. And what happened is he got more and more into his work, and Ella, I guess, was supposed to be like a baby version of Charlie, and he kept making animatronics that would talk and react and stuff like that, all while Aunt Jen is like, my God, it's like, you're going crazy, like, well, what the hell, Henry, you gotta stop this, and whatever, and he was desperately trying to recreate a robot version of Charlie. So Charlie is a machine. This whole time, she was a fucking robot, and this whole time, they made 4 versions of Charlie. A baby Charlie, which is, I guess, Ella, a more, I don't know, I guess a kid, grade schooler or whatever version of Charlie. The Charlie that we know that's kind of a younger woman, like 18-ish, 19-ish, I guess. And a more adult woman, Charlie, that I guess wasn't like that much tard in her, but still. And what happened is this final version of Charlie was somehow stolen by Afton and was repurposed into being Baby. So the thing is, Baby herself has a lot of emotional baggage because she got turned down twice through her life. So, and she remembers all this stuff. It's so weird. So, similar to the game Sister Location, Afton was also too obsessed with making Baby, Circus Baby, making her perfect or whatever the fuck, that he was ignoring his own daughter, to the point that when the daughter has like a good grade report card or some shit, Afton actually kicks her away. Like, literally kicks the kid away, so she feels that. So there was a moment that everyone was gone, she was alone with Circus Baby. Of course, like the game, Circus Baby killed her, and Circus Baby within the book says that she feels weird because she sees the memories from both sides. She could see herself as a little girl looking up at the giant robot, but she can also remember, like, from the robot's point of view, looking down at the child and stuff like that. So she already had the disdain that her father didn't like her. She's trying so hard to get Afton to like her, but at the same time, she has these weird, I guess, memories somehow of being Charlie, of being the 4th Charlie, because what happened is that Henry, I guess, got lost in his delusions of making, these different versions of Charlie, that by the time he finally made, like, the final, 4th version of Charlie, the full-grown adult woman version of her, that's when he finally hit him that, nah, this is wrong, this is fucked up, what the hell am I doing? Like no matter how realistic I make this happen, like my real daughter is still dead, my real daughter is still gone. So that's when it finally hits him that this is like weird and fucked up, and that's when he goes to take his life. And somehow, since the robot, it makes no sense, but the robot has now the consciousness of both Baby and Afton's daughter. Now she remembers it also from the point of view of the Charlie robot, that she was also like turned away and disdained by her other father, by Henry. So she has tons of emotional baggage, and now she wants to kill Charlie because she kind of feels like, because even now, Afton's whole plan is that Afton wants Charlie because Charlie, the one that we know, looks perfect. She looks like an actual human, and she passed her life like as a regular human, while even in Baby's case, that looks kind of like Charlie, she still has to use like the discs and stuff so regular people can see her as a human and whatever. So Afton wants Charlie, I guess, to somehow, whatever, use her somehow to find out how to become immortal or whatever. And this is when, Baby it also wants to kill her because it's like, why are you so important? Why does my father want you more than me? And all that shit. So in the end, Charlie and Baby struggle and stuff. And let me just hold on because there's 2 things going on at the same time. So while this is going on, Carlton gets captured by Afton, and Afton, which again makes no sense, somehow injects some of the molten metal stuff into Carlton's like heart or lung or something, and Carlton is for all intents and purposes dead. But when he's dead, he sees the souls of original kids that were killed by Afton, the souls of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and them, including the girl, Susie, who would become Chica, just like in the games, like the Ultimate Custom Night showing that she lost her dog, and Afton's like, oh no, your dog's over here, and that's how that particular girl got killed, unfortunately. So, all these kids are, I guess, with like weird drawings, and the drawings are incomplete, and they don't quite remember what happened, so Carlton helps put the drawings back together, and once they're back together, now they remember that Afton killed them. So somehow this manifests in the real world. Somehow the Funtime Freddy and Mangle and them turn against Afton himself and shove him into like a furnace or a fire or something, and that's how Carlton and Jessica and Marta get away from that mess and everything. And I guess it's assumed that since the place went down in flames or whatever, the other kids can now finally find peace, you know, all that stuff, the original victims. And so while that's going on, back to Charlie, as the two Charlies are fighting against each other, the other Charlie, you know, our Charlie, the heroic one, is not afraid to end it, and, you know, she knows the truth now, whatever. So she gets him into a position where the original animatronic with the knife, the original animatronic that killed Henry, stabs right through both of them, and Baby is shocked, and, you know, Baby dies, and I guess Charlie, in her case, feels some kind of relief, and they both die, and John, of course, wakes up in time to see this, and, you know, for him, again, it's terrible, it's tragic, and all that. So, yeah, so the kids, you know, they all find out what happened and all the stuff. There's a moment where John goes to visit the grave and everything, and you notice that it's like Henry's grave, but you also notice that Charlie, the real Charlie, her grave has been there for a long-ass time, and it implies that she was only alive for like 3 or 4 years before she died. So the real one was dead this whole time of this entire book series. And there's some other woman, I guess, looking at him that may or may not be a fifth Charlie. I don't know. It's a weird mystery. The book kind of ends like that. So, what can I say? The book's very good. It kept me like watching because now it was more action-packed. You know, more stuff was going on faster and things. The characters got more involved. You know, like now it was kind of interesting because like Charlie was dealing with her own stuff, but it was kind of cool that Marla, Jessica, Carlton got into their own adventures, their own things. You know, trying to avoid Funtime Freddy and Mangle and shit like that. And I just like the interesting science behind it with the disc and the device that you reverse the wires, like now they can't see you and all that shit. So everything's very interesting. Just the whole book, you know. But of course, there's still things that just don't make sense. I don't know. The first thing, of course, the most noticeable thing is how in the fucking hell was what's her name? Was Charlie a robot this whole fucking time? How is she a robot? Like, it makes no sense. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this is a girl, and, you know, it's a girl that's as human as any of us, you know, a girl that, you know, eats, sleeps, she actually feels tired, she feels worn out, she feels sickly and stuff like that, you know. She's bombarded by memories, she feels nausea, you know. I assume she goes to the bathroom, you know, as a kid and stuff. She probably got cut and scraped and stuff, or, you know, doctor visits or whatever. Like how do you pull that off? And then what happens, like, when the time comes, I guess? They're like, well, it's been a couple of years. By now, Charlie should be a little taller. We'll deactivate this one and turn on that one with the memories, I guess, and we'll do it over summer vacation or some shit, I guess, so that when she goes back to school, you know, hey, she grew up a couple of inches during the summer or something. I don't know how they did that. I don't even know how the memories travel, because that's the thing. Each Charlie was going to continue on with the memories of the previous Charlie, and even baby Charlie, she still had, like, it was kind of fuzzy and whatever, because she wasn't perfect, and, you know, there's only things that Charlie did, you know, recently, but she had a lot of the memories of Charlie. She knew where, like, the kids lived, she knew them by name and stuff like that. She did the best Charlie performance that she could based on her own memories and stuff. It's just, I don't know how the fuck that works in any kind of logical way, and, what the fuck, man? And that's the thing, like, Charlie is self-aware. She has her own thoughts and whatever. She's driven by her own traumas and stuff, sure, but she has her own thoughts. She has her own decisions. I remember there was a line in the second book that kind of stood out because I already saw the theory in the third book there was a time that she was like, Afton was on her, I guess, and she used her legs to like kick him off, and she was saying that thank goodness I was doing those extra like squats over the summer, and it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You're not a real human. You can't build muscle, you know, like you can't. I don't know how that works. That's the part that makes no fucking sense. And this robot is so fucking realistic that everyone is fooled. And that's the thing. Baby adds to that because Baby still needs those discs to trick everyone. I don't know why they do that. I don't know where the discs even on. They're probably on her chest somewhere. I don't know. But she needs those discs to make everyone think she's human. But Charlie herself, she is actually human. You know, an appearance and touch and texture, which is kind of weird because I assume if you hold like fake Charlie's hand, you would still feel like Baby's robot hand. I don't know, but the real Charlie, I don't know how that fucking works. That was so, I don't know, man. That is like, I mean, it's interesting, but another thing is that like what the, because you're making animatronics for a pizzeria, you know, that's a big leap. I know that Henry had a lot of grief because his daughter died. But it's a big leap from making animatronics for a pizzeria and you know, toy dolls and shit to making a full-on human realistic robot. And this was like done in the 80s or 90s because, you know, all that stuff always takes place back in the day when like Showbiz Pizza was big and stuff. So they were making like human realistic robots in the 80s and shit, and damn, okay? So that's the big one right there. It makes zero sense. I can make another video just repeating myself over and over. It just makes no sense. Now, second thing makes no sense. But I don't know, I guess in one side it makes no sense, but on the other side I guess it could also be like a clue that Afton just lost it. So Afton melts together all the animatronics into one big melted mess that still, it was bad, you know, it's just a melted mess. It still like shakes and convulses and stuff. It still unfortunately got the souls of the kids in there, and it sucks because now the kids really can't find peace. Now they're stuck in the mess instead of each one possessing its own entity and whatever. And Afton somehow wants to use this to like become immortal, and it makes no fucking sense. He's making experiments, but it just makes no fucking sense. I don't understand how taking your one of your kidneys out and putting your kidney into a possessed robot somehow equals you possessing that robot. But he was like, I'm taking pieces of me one at a time. It makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense. And then, I guess he just injected, that's another stupid thing, he injected Carlton with the metal and to see what would happen. And there was another kid there too, so he was gonna kill the kid and experiment with the kid, but like whatever Afton is doing just makes no fucking sense. I guess you could say that's the point of it, but it is like one of those times where the supervillain plan makes no sense at all. You know, it's just, I don't know. So that's the final thing I want to say. How the fuck did Carlton not die? Okay, I don't care if it's like haunted melted metal or just regular melted metal. Like you don't inject like molten metal into your veins, into your heart, your lung, whatever. You don't inject molten metal and somehow not fucking die. How did this kid's heart not just turn to mulch, you know? And like he sees like the kids and stuff, he sees their souls and he helps them out, and once the souls are all like together and they can go into peace now, whatever, they're like, well, it's not your time yet, kid, you know, and that's when Carlton wakes up. But I'm thinking to myself, how is it not his time? His heart and lungs are probably like molten metal mush. And that makes no fucking sense, because I'm pretty sure, I mean, the book details that I think he injected the whole thing full of that stuff into him, but I'm pretty sure that so much as a drop of that shit would fucking instantly kill you. Like, I don't, what the fucking, that part made no sense whatsoever. That was, and that's, oh my god, I don't know, and that bothers me the most. I know they needed some kind of a way to kill Carlton so he could like meet up with the Freddy ghosts and stuff, but it just makes no sense. It just, I don't know. And like I said, it just got very, very super duper high tech because, again, Baby herself, Baby is a robot that acts and thinks and everything just like a human does. Well, I guess in her case it makes sense because she's still haunted by Afton's daughter, but that was not part of the plan. That was after the fact. But you go for animatronics again. Charlie's case. You go for animatronics to somehow creating a robot that can transform herself from a giant cartoon character to a more human proportioned version of that character, to still have the disc so that other people still think that you're a regular human, and it's just too much. It's just insane. And yeah, the games are kind of doing that too now. Like the games, they're making the robots way more advanced as the games go on now, compared to just regular animatronics. Like it made more sense when they were just regular animatronics because they're haunted, so that explains it. But now these newer characters, I can't even tell they're haunted or they just got twisted AI or whatever. But yeah, that's a lot of shit. That's a lot of stuff. So overall, the entire series was a good read. I did feel that sense of emptiness because now it's over. And yeah, they got the Fazbear Frights. I don't really know how to read those. They sound like they really go a lot into like body horror. Now I know, technically speaking, Freddy's, if you really think about it, like it has body horror, but you don't actually see it in the games. All the stuff is implied. You never actually see, the kids stuffed into suits or the Freddy's stuffing you into a suit. You're already in the suit with the game over screen, right? But these books really go into the body horror categories, so I don't really know if I'll get those or not. What I do want to get the comic book, the graphic novel version of the books, because apparently there might be some new details now in the drawings, so I do want to get those and just kind of compare, contrast with the original book, if there's any changes or updates or whatever, because I don't know if the idea of Charlie being a robot was the idea since book 1. It could have been, I don't know, but now with the power of foresight, they might add more details in the books themselves. I'm kind of curious to get those. But what can I say? General consensus, the first book was good, but it was way too long with the characters being introduced until like the final chapters. That's when Freddy and them come to life, The second book was more fast-paced, more into the action, more into the twisted ones, kidnapping people and the mystery. The third book is even more faster-paced, the baby being a compelling villain and giving more to people, more stuff to do. It wasn't just at the Charlotte and John show, like the other characters did stuff too. I did like that it was like the whole thing with Baby on one side while they were saving the kids from the pizza world and the other side. So they all had their adventures. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty cool. And what can I say? It's a good book series. And yeah, so this is Mark Rodriguez here. And we'll see you next time for the review section and see what other things we may review whenever movie theaters open back up again, right? See you next time.